hosts, Max Gifford and AJ Myers. Guys, tough loss for Syracuse. Really puts a damper on what was a pretty strong start to ACC play.
And it's really tough, Josh, when you consider that Syracuse did have a chance ultimately to win this game despite blowing such a big lead.
Yeah, certainly. And the fact that they did almost win this game, Max, is beyond me, given that they went 3 of 11 from beyond the arc. And you made a good point before we went on the air. The threes were falling in the first half. Second half, they dried up. And once again, Coach Autry and this Syracuse team had no answer.
Well, we're excited to break it down for just about the next hour and 20 minutes. It's the double overtime, and it starts right now.
The game may be over, but our coverage on WAER is not. Here on the double overtime, we'll be breaking down all the highs.
Carlos kicks out. Freeman contested the three. It doesn't matter. It swirls home. The horn sounds, and Donnie Freeman sends this team into the locker room jumping for joy.
Starling from the right wing gets down the lane. His righty layup goes, and the Orange lead.
He's calling all the way for it. Wants it on Suarez. Spins back to his right. Baby hook up, and it goes. And one. Eddie Lampkin rocks the baby around the three-point line.
And the lows.
100 matchups between Georgetown and Syracuse. A long 95-year history. The rivalry is alive and well, and today the victors is Georgetown.
Lowe slices through the defense. Behind the back pass. Corhan sticks it up and in. A little razzle-dazzle from Jalen Lowe to Cam Corhan. And that one may be the dagger.
And thus ends the second season under Adrian Autry. And it finishes in the second round of the ACC tournament in 2025.
Delivering our hottest takes along the way.
But it just makes you wonder what is going on in practice, because each time that Adrian Autry takes the podium, it's a lot of, we're working on.
We're getting better.
We're working on it. We're getting better. We're getting better. Well, sure. Maybe in theory they're getting better.
But
this is a fan base that needs you to be good now.
Say this about Syracuse basketball is crazy, because the brand of Syracuse basketball that I grew up knowing is so far distant from where this team is at now. But I mean, we could be talking about Syracuse at the bottom of the ACC.
I don't think this team makes the ACC tournament at this rate.
Get your voice heard by calling in at 315-443-2011. Or check out our YouTube at WAER Sports Talk. It's the double overtime, and it starts right now.
Partying late night on the double overtime. Thanks so much for joining us after Virginia Tech takes down Syracuse 76-74 inside the Dome. With AJ Myers, I'm Max Gifford. Thanks for joining us. We're on the air until 1 a.m. And if you want to get your voice heard and talk to AJ and I about this close finish down the stretch, call in 315-443-2011. That's the number to call. We've already got our phone lines blowing up. Mahir from Albany is on the line. Mahir, what did you make of this one?
Hey, guys. Look, I'm probably not allowed to curse, so I won't.
Yeah, please don't.
Look, I'm angry, man. I'm so freaking angry.
You.
It's like I feel sick. I feel disgusted. I'm sad. I'm also tired. Like, I don't really know what else I can say to really help other people that are not Syracuse basketball fans, like, understand how I feel. Like, I'm just like, I'm at a loss, dude. Like, I want this coaching staff gone. I want every freaking person on this coaching staff gone. There is no sense of urgency. There's like there's nothing that we run on offense. There's no energy. There's no effort. Our defenses look terrible even since Donnie's come back. Like, I'm more angry now than after the BC game, because in my eyes, I was talking to a friend about this, the difference between now and after, Syracuse lost to Hofstra and Boston College is that I'm like, okay, you know what? They gave those games away. They were in those games. There was a foul that wasn't called in the Hofstra game. The BC lost. They had the lead. They didn't hit their free throw, and we know what happened. And I thought, okay, Syracuse this year and under Adrian Autry and even Jim Boeheim, they've always tended to play down to their competition. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, they'll understand that with this upcoming stretch of games, how important each game is starting tonight with Virginia Tech, and they'll play with some urgency. You know, we saw them against Houston. What was that? Honestly, what was that? Like, I don't know what I'm watching. These guys don't do anything. There was a stretch for the second half where not a single player that was on the floor looked like they wanted to be there. And then you got Donnie. He's rolling the ball to JJ.
That was really bad.
Not like, it's just, I'm sorry, guys. Like, do you guys feel this, or am I the only one that's crazy?
Oh,
like,
no, absolutely.
I'm not going to call for it to be fired, but, like, dude, like, this is insane, man. How much more are we supposed to take as fans? Like, you want your team to be level 5. Well, your coaching isn't level 5. When we ask you a question about offense, how about you give us a specific answer instead of saying, we're fighting. We need to be proud of the battle. I don't care about your battle. Like, win some freaking games, dude. Thank you. I'm sorry. You guys are great.
No, thank you. I couldn't have said it better myself.
But thank you for having me on and for the extended screen time. Thank you, guys.
Of course. Have a great night.
Mahir's starting us out with a bang here on the double overtime.
What else?
Thanks so much
That is
a
perfect synopsis of this game and maybe the season.
It's a perfect encapsulation of, what kind of that game meant into the overall landscape of this season.
He brings up a funny point. These 9 o'clock tips are not good for when you lose because it really puts you in a bad mood right before bed. I mean, he makes a good point
and
there.
you shouldn't go to bed angry.
No.
I think we all learned that on from an early age. Mahir called in at 315-443-2011. You can too if you want to get your voice heard. If you want to rant like Mahir does as well, we're here for you.
Yeah.
If you want to vent, you can.
If you got to get it out.
AJ and I can be your therapist tonight. Honestly, we could have probably used therapists when we were watching this game as well. Especially because it was so frustrating that Virginia Tech just absolutely bodied Syracuse in that second half. But the Orange still had a chance down the stretch.
The final almost the final 3 minutes, VT didn't make a single field goal. And this is a huge, interesting point. 28 personal fouls from Syracuse. 3 players fouled out. Luke Fennell had to come into the game because Autry was getting thin on the bench.
Yeah, by the way, that's by far the most fouls the Orange have had this season.
That is a wild number of
Houston, which was an overtime game.
Yes.
So this is regulation, and you had 7 more, and you almost matched that total in the first half alone. Unbelievable.
That just spells out lack of discipline.
And part of that to your point, Virginia Tech didn't necessarily have any field goals down the stretch. Now, a little bit of that's deceiving is because Virginia Tech didn't have to shoot a whole lot because they were getting fouled so much.
No, but also though, it doesn't take it away from the fact Virginia Tech, if I'm a Hokies fan, I'm not super happy because one, you almost squandered this game, and why they took 17 threes made no sense because, again, another big issue with this game was the paint presence.
No, absolutely. And Syracuse was getting so many players in and out. I think there were 17 different players rotated, or at least 17 different rotations in that second half. And we've got Lester from Liverpool on the line right now who wants to talk about Adrian Autry's lack of rotation. And Lester, I don't blame you. That second half seemed out of control.
I mean, look at the job that Bryce Zephyr did in the first half.
Wasn't bad.
Absolutely.
He's nowhere to be seen in the second half. I think these 9 p.m. games are catching up with Coach because he looks sleepy on the sideline. At the end of the game, J.J. Starling fouls out, and it took him 2 minutes to decide who he was going to sub in. He just has no awareness, and I'm sick of it.
No, and you have every right to be sick of it. And I just think it's so bewildering to me that Syracuse, the second halves, no matter how late the game starts, they're just bad. Every second half for me, Lester, is just abysmal from Syracuse, and it becomes a close game when, really, at times in that first half, they were in control.
And there were just so many guys tonight that you would hope that you could depend on that just showed us absolutely nothing. Particularly, I'm thinking of Nathan George. Yep. He didn't do anything till he hit that 3 right at the buzzer. Who gives a crap? Honestly, I think, Coach subs him out all the time. I think he's exhausted because his nose is so small he can't breathe.
Now, look, I know we're being pretty negative right now, but Bryce Zephyr, like you mentioned, did play some really good minutes in that first half. I guess, what did you make of his play at the start when Starling and George went out with a couple fouls?
He doesn't turn the ball over. He plays stout defense for being a guy that doesn't have a great, a ton of length. And look, we don't need him to score buckets. We just need him to come in there, dribble around, distribute the rock, and that's what he did.
Yeah,
I'd much rather see Bryce Zephyr at the point than William Kyle.
Go ahead, Lester. I have one idea I got to run by you that I think could really turn around this program.
All right, lay it on me.
We have a bunch of individuals that aren't playing like a team, and I think there's one guy, he's got some free time on his hands now that could come in and give a motivational speech about teamwork. His name is Sean McDermott. If I'm John Wildhack, I'm giving him a call, I'm giving him a speaking fee, and I'm bringing him in to talk to this team because Coach Red ain't doing it.
Well, funny enough,
convince Fernando Mendoza to transfer into the program since we love to bring in football players to play basketball anyways.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Lester,
right,
thanks so much for the call. We appreciate it.
I mean, again, I don't necessarily disagree with them.
No,
in the
the
fact
Saphir
that
thing
this
was
team
interesting.
Is playing as individuals because there is definitely no lack of talent on this team.
Oh, no.
I think it's been established.
Look at Donnie Freeman.
And I think that was established even more by the fact that Bryce Zephyr is a guy that has exclusively come off the bench this season, has not played double-digit minutes with the exception of the first 3 games of the season, and he looked pretty good when he initiated the offense.
I just feel like we won't see him again unless there's a foul trouble situation like there was. Then again, though, on the flip side, this just kind of jumped in my brain. He did get, I think, a little bit more first-half minutes than what I thought he would get. I think he got, 11 first-half minutes? Like, Autry could have brought Starling and George back in around that 5-minute mark, and he didn't. But again, he was probably just saving them for the second half. He didn't take a shot, so, it's still a little up in the air of how good he actually is. But it was something. It was something a little different. But outside of that, he was a nice performer in the first half, but there were so many bad performers tonight that really outweighed any goods. And one thing that really bugged me was the way J.J. Starling finished this game. He was excellent. In the final 60 seconds, I think he had 6 points, maybe 4. He had these quick layups. He would drive all the way to the cup. Where's that aggressiveness the whole game?
And that came after some of the worst shot attempts and layup attempts that I had seen in so long from J.J. Starling.
Yes.
Because he's a guy that I really do trust game in and game out.
Too.
To drive. He's probably the best driver on the team.
He doesn't
by
do
far.
it enough.
And he looked like me in pickup basketball, just trying to get around the bigs any way I can. Now, granted, Virginia Tech had some oak trees in that paint that made it very difficult to score. But, I couldn't count the amount of times that Starling maybe went to the left block or the right block and was trying these baby hook shots that were almost like an underhand to go in off the lane, and then he was trying to get a soft touch, if you will. Those weren't falling, but again, Starling performed well at the end. Donnie Freeman, another one of those guys that didn't perform well all game. If there's anyone else that stood out to you about who maybe stood out for Syracuse that maybe could have stepped up, we want to hear from you. 315-443-2011. We've already had a couple callers. You can become one of those very soon if you call into the show. And again, I think this game exposed more than ever that Syracuse is not going to have a good chance if Donnie Freeman doesn't perform to what his expectations should be.
His worst game, I'm sure statistically maybe he had a poorer game, but this was awful from him. 3 of 14, and then he has that really lazy inbounds pass that really jeopardized things for Syracuse, where he just kind of rolled it to Nathan George. Nathan George wasn't paying attention, or I think it was just a bad. I don't know who rolls the ball to inbound it that late in the game.
Not to mention the rebound.
Oh yeah,
that
and
also should have been
really
snagged.
cost him the game. Yes, that was between. It was either him and Betsy. Him and George are arguing about it. But yeah, this was probably his most forgetful game in Orange.
Again, I think there was some sort of miscommunication on that rebound situation, but I would say that as the bigger guy, and in that situation, I probably would have entrusted Donnie a little more to get that rebound. I don't necessarily know where the disconnect was in that situation.
And it just can't happen. And that's the discipline. That's the whole level 5 thing that Adrian Autry loves to harp on. That wasn't there in the second half, and that's just been a problem all season long, and it really highlighted itself once again today. And I just think it's so funny that they had a chance to win. that they brought it back within 3. That's a credit to J.J. Starling's aggressiveness, and that's also a credit to just some weird Virginia Tech stuff they did with either shooting threes or their lack of offensive ability. They also kind of, stumbled at the free throw line a little bit late on. They finished 72% from the free throw line. They took 36 free throws thanks to those 28 personal fouls from Syracuse. So there were some weird things that happened at the end of the game, but I don't think the scoreline, a 2-point win for Virginia Tech, doesn't tell the story of how awful Syracuse was in the second half.
And let's talk about, that Virginia Tech team a little more, because we've been harping on Syracuse a lot, because I do think that even though Syracuse did have the opportunities, ample opportunities to get back in this game, especially down the stretch, I think part of that was because Virginia Tech was giving Syracuse every opportunity to come back in this game. I mean, you go to the start of this contest, Virginia Tech's first 12 points were in the paint, and then what did they end up with in the paint? 36 points in the paint, and it probably would have been more if you didn't shoot 17 threes like you were talking about earlier. I just felt like those were a lot of forced shots that really, if you had just kept peppering Syracuse in the paint, I would say it would have been very hard for the Orange to have any chance to come back.
And I think people, every time the last really 2 years I've gone on these double overtimes, the Autry criticism has been there, and I'll put my hand up. Last year we were on a double overtime. I was defending Autry in a way, and I had
both of us were.
Yeah,
we were watching it back today. It was after Syracuse lost to the worst team in the ACC,
probably
Miami.
They had a lot of bad losses last year, but one of their worst.
Yeah, you lost by nearly 10 points to a team that was 1-11 in ACC play at that time.
And I now I'm lowering my guard on that, because I do think the criticism is rightfully out there for Autry. I think he's a good culture builder, sure. I think the players like him for the most part. I don't really know that to how much of an extent. I'm not inside that locker room really. But there's a game plan, game adjustment. Virginia Tech made adjustments. Syracuse did not make any sort of adjustment in the second half.
Well, we're going to be joined by our reporter, Jake Klein, who is at the Dome in a little bit here on WAER Syracuse on the double overtime until 1 a.m. Before he calls in, if you want to talk to AJ and I about how this game broke down, call in 315-443-2011. We want to hear from you. Loved what Mahir said earlier.
That was awesome. That was a great first call to get going.
It was just almost a sermon to sum up what Syracuse's season has been. And then you had Lester, who's always just been the straightest of shooters
with
Lester. Us on the double overtimes this year. Because, he puts it how it is.
He did.
He doesn't beat around the bush, and you like that, because I think it's to a point that you can't keep beating around the bush with this team. Syracuse, maybe at some point last year, didn't quite have the talent to stack up with some of these other teams, but Jim Boeheim has said it, coaching matters. And I think a lot of people are starting to question that coaching. Michael from Rochester might also have something to say about this coaching. He's at a loss for words after this game. Michael, what do you have for us?
How you guys doing tonight? This is really just a microcosm of what Syracuse basketball has been with Adrian Autry. It seems like he's in way over his head.
Mm-hmm.
He has no idea what's going on. You're inside the Dome tonight, and there's just this negative energy. There's rumbles around there. And, you're sitting there, and I'm around Autry's wife and other assistant coaches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like everyone's kind of complaining, about like there's no plays going on. And you see Autry's wife. That this is at the end of the game. I see this. She turns around to a student and is cussing him out, cursing at him. It's this whole ordeal, and it was kind of crazy because I was sitting right around there, and it was literally just we're complaining about the plays. There's ball screens at the top of the offense every time. It's the most predictable offense of all time.
Yeah.
It seems like there's no coaching going on. It's the most talented Syracuse basketball team that there's been in 10-plus years, in my opinion, and there's nothing to show for it. It's 12-7 right now and 3-3 in ACC play. It's a joke. It's sad what's going on, and the way that it ended when I saw that situation go down, it was just an example of what a joke this real program, that's a top program, has really turned into under him, and I think it needs to change right now.
Yeah,
and that's really unfortunate to see. But I guess kind of watching. It seems like Adrian Autry's wife might have been more fired up than Adrian Autry during that second half. I think a lot of people on social media were saying he looked a little stagnant. Michael, did you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't know when there's timeouts called. I don't know. You guys see it.
Yeah.
There's timeouts called, and he's talking to his assistant coach who's not even in the huddle half the time for half the timeout. I mean, it's obvious. You guys are sitting courtside. You see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense. That's where I wonder what's going on. I've been a fan of this team my whole entire life, right?
Yeah.
And I think we were really spoiled as fans with Jim Boeheim, where it got to a point where we almost took him for granted, really what he did for this program and where he put it. And to have an in-house guy, I was hopeful with Autry early, but it's gotten worse and worse. And I don't know how you're going to keep a lot of these players, how they could be bought in right now into this program. And it's got. If I was John Wildhack, I'd fire him right now. Right now, I would not wait. This is unacceptable. This is a program
that's so hard to do.
Is going down the drain.
Michael, I understand the frustration, but that's so hard to do mid-season. I think that's definitely something that occurs off-season, and I think you have to remember what John Wildhack said. He said meaningful games in March. The current track record, their team is not getting anywhere close to meaningful games in March. So
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And, let's say that we do go on a magical run somehow, right? And you make the tournament. Well, is it really a win? Do you really believe that Adrian Autry should be the head coach?
Exactly. If you get
moving
one
the team forward, I think it's a
March.
lose-lose situation right now.
And you just hope that John Wildhack, because I wonder if he's going to die on that hill of these meaningful games in March, because, again, that's a very relative term.
Yes, it's a very broad
when you look
statement.
at Syracuse over the last stretch. I mean, I guess what would meaningful games at this point look like for you, Michael?
Meaningful games is. I think this is me speaking for the majority of the fan base too.
Yep.
The meaningful games in March is the meaningful games in the ACC tournament, which Syracuse has really never done well in ever since being in the ACC.
That is true.
The meaningful games in March is being in the NCAA bracket, like that. It's just being in March Madness. That's what the standard for this program has to be. It can't be like we were close, we were on the bubble. No, that's garbage, and it's really sad that we've become complacent with this, like just believing like, hey, yeah, we're like kind of like a bubble team or whatever. And that was even at the end of Boeheim's tenure.
Mm-hmm.
That's where fans kind of got frustrated with him at the end of it and recruiting and all that. But Autry seems like he has no idea what's going on, and he's kind of tone deaf with the fan base. And I can't imagine what it's going to be like Saturday in the Dome now. After another just awful collapse of a game, I think the boos are only going to get louder. And this is a fan base that you guys got to remember. This is a fan base that is one of the most loyal fan bases in all of sports.
Absolutely.
They really don't boo. We really don't boo. No one really tries to harp on the coaches or players, and no one's harping on the players really. That's where I think this is really different. It's not just like everyone's booing at the players, everyone's calling out players like that. That's like, okay, these are college kids. I know they're getting paid now, but you got to look at it this way. This is a real talented basketball team, especially compared to last year. You don't have guys like Jaquan Carlos and Eddie Lampkin and Lucas Taylor who wouldn't even really play on this team. You got real talented guys. You got Donnie Freeman, who seems like a top 15 pick in the draft. You got Will Kyle, who's one of the most athletic players in the whole country, and J.J. Starling, who's an advanced vet. Like this team has talent, and it just is being managed horribly.
Could not agree more, and I think that's what we talked about just a little bit ago. Michael, thanks so much for the call. I mean, because last year, at this point, even after one of your worst losses in ACC play, we had said that ultimately the players are the ones that takes the shots on the court.
That was me defending Autry, saying, he probably doesn't have the roster.
Think about at this time, this was a Donnie Freeman-less Syracuse team.
Exactly.
So
all the pieces are here.
It was almost obvious at that point that Syracuse wasn't making the tournament.
Yeah.
That was kind of the final nail in the coffin. But now it's to a point where, you're seeing all the pieces come together. This team is exactly as advertised as you thought it was going to be in terms of what you were going to see the lineup, but you're not seeing the results.
No, and I think Michael makes a great point with just Autry's coaching, and this offense shouldn't be this bad. I mean, these players shouldn't be performing this poorly. I get you have off games, but, I mean, the shooting today was just really, really bad, and it was almost as if the game plan was, let's chuck up a bunch of threes and see how it goes, and heck, in the first half it worked. You're up by 7 because of your three-point shooting, but then that went really dry. You made just 2 in the second half, and it was really bad. There was no other offensive strategy, and this is what so just makes no sense to me is you have William Kyle. That should be the focal point of your offense. Run the pick and roll with him every time. I get VT was a bigger team, but their rebounding wasn't great. They're going into this game, their paint presence wasn't anything, mind-boggling, And William Kyle, once again, has a really quiet game to the point where it's like they're not utilizing him properly. He goes 5 of 6. He has 10 points. He could have had 20.
I mean, Virginia Tech definitely did have the size advantage today. That being said, the Hokies got into some foul trouble early.
And Syracuse never took advantage of that.
I mean, the fact that two of Virginia Tech's tallest players were out for a majority of the game, and you still had no answer.
Nothing.
William
and that
Kyle
falls
wasn't
on
even
Autry.
on the court at some of those points.
Yeah, yes, and that completely falls on Autry. You had to take better advantage of those moments, and there just was no offensive scheme, really. And that is definitely what I think we've heard from callers so far. And for me, the most head-scratching thing is, how can you be this bad offensively? And you were pretty much this bad offensively against BC, too. That was a turnover problem. Turnovers weren't much better. I mean, you still committed 14. I know it's not, what was it? It was 18.
18.
So a little bit better, but still not great. You have a turnover problem, sure, but I think you also just have what is the X's and O's of this offense?
You have an everything problem.
Yeah, at this point you probably
have an
do.
everything problem.
But a week ago, there was no problem. Well, the problems weren't there. We weren't saying there was an everything problem.
Yeah.
These last 2 games, now there's an everything problem.
Questions are continuing to swirl around this team, and if you want to ask more of those questions or vent your frustrations about these questions, call in 315-443-2011. Phone lines continuing to blow up. We've actually got Michael from Manlius on right now. And Michael, it just... Oh, Michael was on for a second, and, he's so frustrated with this game that, he's already going to bed. Like we said, don't go to bed angry.
How about one more hour and then go to bed?
Right, exactly. Stay on the Sam Reese sleep schedule, who was calling the game today for WAER and did a fantastic job.
Yes.
We're on the air for another 55 minutes, so please stay up with us, hang out with us. But, yeah, it's almost like where do questions start? Because you mentioned the turnovers. That was the big talking point a game ago.
Again, it wasn't much better. 14 ain't
but
good.
Again, I mean, three-point shooting has been bad for this team.
Yeah.
And you come into this game outside the top 200 in three-point shooting in the entire country, and then you're shooting 64% from three in the first half. So it begs the question, maybe this team finally figured it out until you watch the second half. And that's what I was telling you during that first half. I said, I think Virginia Tech is playing better basketball than Syracuse, but I think the Orange are just
getting fortunate for those threes.
Yes, they're getting the fortunate bounces, and their shots are going in right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that simple.
You can call that skill, but I think to some point you also have to have a little bit of luck on your side.
And another thing that's really building a ton of frustration for me is Nate Kings. He seems to have these moments in games where it's like, oh, he knocks down two threes. Here we go.
He had the moment,
and then he had the
tonight.
chance to tie it up, and he missed it. And look, I mean, you're going to miss some, but you feel like he could take over more games, and he simply just doesn't. And that's where again I go to Autry. Why aren't you drawing up more stuff for him? Why don't you run the offense through him a few times?
I know you wish that, I guess, Nate Kings could have his moment. This Syracuse team could have its signature win. We've got Stan from Solvay on the line, and Stan, we're hearing you don't think there's a desire to play anymore?
Well, I mean, I don't know I'd go that far, but it just seems like they don't want to win the games or have the play as hard as the team they're playing. It's been that way all year. They just don't. Even this, and then they'll have their moments where they come back because they put themselves in that situation because their lack of desire to really. Their sense of urgency. I mean, look at that foul shot when there was one guy from Virginia Tech at the end of the game, and we had all three guys there. They had one guy. He gets the rebound. If we got the rebound with three guys there, one guy, the other guy.
Syracuse had a chance to win.
Multiple.
I mean, and let me just say this too. We can't shoot the basketball.
No,
once in a while we shoot a few threes and have a good. We still can't shoot. There's so many times they miss. Threes. Donnie Freeman had an awful game to me. He's probably the best shooter we got. He didn't shoot that well.
Nope.
I'll be honest with you, Donnie Freeman didn't look that. I don't know. He didn't look that good to me.
No, I mean he didn't look that motivated this whole game. Really.
Do we really have the talent? You guys are saying. I don't know about that. I've been watching Syracuse since Roy Danforth was the coach, so I've seen a lot of talent. I don't know about it, and Kyan Anthony, I mean, really?
Stan, I think there's individual talent. It's just not being put together.
Right away. maybe someday he'll be good, but he's not doing anything for Syracuse.
No, and I just think right now there's individual talent. There's just not a collective team talent. That's the problem, and that's why you continually see these second-half meltdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really seeing this individual talent that you guys are seeing. Really, I'm not. I mean, I guess you guys.
William Kyle's pretty talented. I mean, he could jump out of the gym. He's pretty talented. Donnie Freeman has showed it in the start of ACC play. His ability to make his own shot, drive to the cup. He didn't do it tonight.
The ball, he's turning it over. He's not really. Do you see that shot? It looked like a hook shot. It was awful. He wasn't that good. He didn't look that good to me tonight. If it was the first time I saw Donnie Freeman play, I'd say there's no
denying tonight he was awful.
Great talent that's going to the pros next year. I didn't see that.
No, tonight he was awful.
Yeah, no, and ultimately you want to see that consistency
but
out of
listen,
a guy.
I'm a fan, and your guys' show's great. I listen to it all the time. And I'll always stick for Syracuse, and I'll watch the games, win or lose. And but it's really about they don't have that. They drive every team that they play still has the urgency to want to, and you can see it in their drive.
And doesn't that fall on the coach, Stan? Doesn't that fall on Autry?
Well, that's where I can't go. I don't know. Well, I guess it could be. You know, you can be right. I mean, real quick, not to change the subject, but
no, you go
look
ahead.
at Buffalo. Look at Buffalo real quick. The Bills, they're blaming that coach though. And let me tell you something. I love Josh Allen, but Josh Allen doesn't execute all the time either. So it's not just the coach's fault.
No, and that's a very fair point. That's a good point to bring up, especially tonight.
But Syracuse, the sense of urgency. And when they didn't get that rebound, three of our guys were on the line, and the one guy was there at the end, and we could have got the rebound and took a three and tied the game, and they got two more shots, small shots, because that one guy got the rebound.
And if you're a loyal Syracuse fan like Stan, which we really appreciate his call, I mean, it's pretty understanding why you're frustrated after Syracuse had the moment to come back, not once, but twice, and probably three times.
I mean, they get a rebound, they knock down a shot, they know how to imbalance the ball. It's crazy to think they almost did come back and win this game.
Well, yeah, ultimately, Orange fall by 2, 76-74, your final from the Dome tonight. Emotions are running high right now between AJ and I, and all these callers that have joined us so far. So we're going to take a quick break on the double overtime, and when we come back, we'll talk about one of the most lingering problems this entire season so far, and that is the second half. We'll talk to you in just a little bit on WAER.
The one your parents raised you with, the one that shared your toys. What if she didn't just have different hair or a slightly different nose? Was an entirely different species altogether. For the Snap Judgment Tooth and Claw series, we proudly present Monkey Sister. Snap Judgment. Do not miss it.
Sunday morning at 10 on 88.3 FM WAER.
Federal funding for public media has been eliminated. That means decades of bipartisan support for public radio and television is ending. To be clear, NPR and this station aren't going anywhere, but we do need your support. Please give today to help keep rigorous, independent, and irreplaceable news coverage available to everybody, free of charge. Here's how to donate, and thank you.
Visit WAER.org to get started today.
Do you want something new?
The other end of the floor, and scores, throws it up for Kyle. Look out! Syracuse pushing the pace, George throwing it up, and Kyle slamming it down.
Welcome back to the double overtime. We're with you on the air until 1 a.m. AJ Myers alongside Max Gifford, recapping yet another ACC defeat for Syracuse and another damaging one at home. They fall to Virginia Tech 76-74. In that first segment, we got into, just kind of a recap of what went wrong in the entire game. But now me and Max really want to hit home in these second half issues. Well, before we do that, we got to get to Kurt from Albany. Kurt, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. And yourself?
Good,
Can't
yeah.
complain. Would have
We
rather
can't
had.
complain.
It's the team. I mean, they're acting like they're very listless every time they play. And I think he's lost the team. And then now, if we keep this up, what is it going to do for a future recruit?
Yeah.
They're seeing this. They're not going to want to come here.
No, unless they can play football.
Outside the box.
No, I think, Kurt, you're spot on. And, Kurt, why do we really want to hit home these second half problems? Because that's really been the problem all ACC play. Even the games they won, every game seems to get close. What do you think's going wrong? Is it all just because of Autry's lack of coaching? Or is there some player stuff that you think's wrong in the second half?
Well, one, I think it's the lack of coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I think they don't have no sense of direction. Nobody knows who.
That's a good point.
I think there's too many cooks in the kitchen. We need one or two players that everybody should focus on. Those two players should get most of the shot. And then if it clogs up there, then the other guy should shoot. Right now, everybody's individual. They throw the ball. I mean, you're at a Power 5 college.
Mm-hmm.
How do you not make a basket?
And I think
they
tonight.
And it falls short.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think
How is
tonight
that
the problem
possible?
was with Donnie Freeman. He wasn't shooting great. He was 3 of 14, and there was just nobody else that they could lean on.
But the problem is, who is your second option then?
Yeah,
Because
Kurt, do you think this team has a good second option?
I'm not really sure because every time it's not Starling, it's not him.
No.
Because he only shows up at the end of the game.
Yeah.
In the middle of the game, the other thing is everybody's fouling for no reason. Why are you fouling? You just fouling for no reason. But then I don't know who could be the second player because I thought it was going to be Anthony, but
probably not ready yet for that.
I think everybody's so despondent. They don't know which way to turn. So how do you find a second player?
No, that's a great point, Kurt. We appreciate the call, and I think you bring up a good point with the lack of second option. And tonight that was an issue, especially in the second half when, Freeman didn't have a great first half, but the second frame he was really bad. The turnover started to creep up again, and he simply just couldn't make a field goal.
One of our play-by-play broadcasters, Gino Antamarino, said during that second half, this has been one of the nagging problems for Syracuse. In addition to those second half woes, it's the fact that if the Orange's primary option can't get going, then there's no secondary option.
There isn't. And the weird thing is with J.J. Starling, he looks so good in the last 60 seconds of the game. It's just where was that in the first 19 minutes of the second half?
I don't know if we talked about it. The Orange were 3 for 14 on layups at one point in
which
this
is
game.
weird. Like, that's bizarre.
And ended up 7 for 21 on the game. So, again,
and a lot of those are J.J. Starlings at the end.
That's what I'm talking about. But a lot of those misses were the bad ones I talked about with J.J. a little earlier. So you would have liked to see him, play second fiddle a little better to Donnie Freeman, especially when you kind of feel out the fact that he's struggling. But I truly don't know if Syracuse has played in a game this season with Donnie Freeman, with the exception of, the first game back in that Clemson game where he didn't have a great first half, and then he showed out in the second half.
Yeah, somehow they were able to beat Tennessee without Donnie Freeman. I think now, looking back, that's an even more impressive win and how that happened. But I think the reason that happened was that was when William Kyle was really dominant. He was getting all these blocks. He was doing all these athletic things. They were lobbing the ball to him. And that has really disappeared. In the second half, I don't remember a single William Kyle play. Because I don't think he had any. I don't think he had a block. I don't think he had a dunk.
He was on the bench for a lot of that second half.
That's just really, really bizarre to me. I don't get that.
No. And you mentioned those second halves and how they've been a lingering issue. This is the 9th time that Syracuse has lost the second half this season. Started out today, Virginia Tech. The last time out against Boston College. The Georgia Tech game. Clemson, Northeastern, Mercyhurst, Hofstra, Iowa State, Kansas. You've lost the second half in all of those games.
Yeah.
At some point, can it really always be the player's fault?
It cannot.
If you lose the second half?
It certainly cannot. We got Michael from Manlius on the line. Michael, it's late, but how you feeling after another bad loss for Syracuse?
All right, look, there's 2 bad losses in a row here, so it's a pattern. So we got a problem. Here's what I want to say, though. I don't know if you guys listen to rap. There's a guy called Notorious B.I.G. who did an album called Life After Death. I think this is the time SC's got to lick their wounds, get strong again, come out against Miami, and put the pedal to the metal.
So you're not done on this season, Michael. You think there's light at the end of the tunnel here. This is just a rough patch. Still there, Michael? Oh, man, I was loving the direction Michael was going in.
He kind of went Notorious B.I.G. on us and just hit us with a mic drop.
I mean, I don't hate
at the end of
it.
that. I don't mind that at all, but again, that's a good Miami team coming into the dome.
I mean, they had a bad loss to Florida State yesterday.
A much better Miami team than last year.
Anything could have been better than last year's.
It's well, they beat Syracuse, so I guess.
Yeah.
But that being said, I mean, they're going to come into the dome with a fire lit under them, similar to how Syracuse should come out on Saturday. And if Syracuse can't perform in the second half, if Syracuse can't perform in the second half like they haven't been, I see no reason why Miami doesn't come out of the dome with a win.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's good they're getting a Miami team that just had their worst loss of the season. Syracuse falling to Virginia Tech tonight, 76-74 here on the double overtime. A.J. Myers and Max Gifford. We want to keep these calls coming in. 315-443-2011 is the number to call. Why do these second halves keep being so bad for Adrian Autry's group? Is it because of Mr. Autry himself, or is there another issue that maybe we haven't touched on yet? I think we're in agreement here, Max. It eventually, you got to point to Autry. And I think last year we weren't doing that. We were blaming the squad. But as a lot of callers have pointed out, and rightfully so, I mean, I know there was one that didn't, but there is talent on this roster. I'm pretty locked in that there is talented players here. I just don't know if they're being utilized correctly.
And I'll give the Syracuse fan base a lot of credit. And sure,
they're loyal, absolutely.
And sure,
yeah.
Maybe some have called for Autry's head earlier than
some
some
I mean,
are
year
right now.
one, people were upset.
But there has been a lot of patience with this program because they understand that it
takes time.
Rome is not built in a day.
No,
college basketball,
especially in college athletics,
aren't built in a day. So, you have to trust the process in a way. I know you're a Sixers fan.
I know all about that.
Even though they're still technically in the process, probably. But there is a point where, you can't keep pointing the finger at the new squad every year because the reality is
it's going to be a new squad every year.
It is a new squad every year. And, I mean, it kind of goes against my point. But the reality of it is, you can technically maybe fire all the players.
Yeah, in a way. That's what they did last year, basically.
Nowadays in college basketball. But at what point does that work? And you're just, funneling in, a new 15 players every single year.
And that's where it goes to Autry. And I can't wait till we speak with Jake Klein. We're going to speak to him in a little bit here. He was at the Dome, so if you got questions for him, save them for the moment and then give us a call. But I want to hear what Autry had to say tonight because I just want to know, where was William Kyle in the second half? Why did you not lean on Nate Kings more? And even Tyler Betsy, everyone has moments in the game, but you can never just put your foot down and say, all right, here's who we're going to run the offense through. Even J.J. Starling, he had his moment right before the game ended.
You also know from watching film that Virginia Tech this season has been one of the worst teams at closing games.
How many 4 overtime games they've had?
They showed on the broadcast they had 4 before the new year.
Yeah,
4 games in overtime before the new year. And they showed on the broadcast the buzzer beater at Stanford, the buzzer beater at SMU. Stat I have here, they've played 6 games that were either decided by 3 points or fewer or went to overtime until their most recent win against Notre Dame. So that was kind of the first win where they kind of felt like, they had it in the bag the whole time. And this is another example of Virginia Tech not having the ability to close games. And I think you saw at some points that Syracuse did have a little bit of the playbook on Virginia Tech. It was some competitive inbounds plays. You knocked it. You had Betsy knocked it off
had a
the
great
Virginia Tech
play
player
there right at the end. Yeah,
toward the end at half
one
court.
of their numerous moments
that
they
was
had
right
a chance
before
to win.
Kings had the moment or the shot, if you will.
That was the moment. We got Craig from Rochester calling in. Craig, what you got?
Hey, gentlemen, thank you for the late night call. We appreciate it.
Oh, we love
program.
it.
We're happy to have you.
Took a couple. I took a wonderful couple French-speaking, Spanish, and German-speaking teaching assistants to the Dome today for the first time from Syracuse. They had a great time.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome.
We love to hear the good Dome experiences.
Yeah. Hey, most older Syracuse fans are going to bleed orange and support Red Autry.
Okay.
We want him to succeed. We want him to be the very best. And so it pains us to find fault with him. That said, it's abundantly obvious there's just a lack of offense execution second half. No screens, no ball movement. They're idle. They're just not being active. And there's too much talent on that team to be losing like we are, and the stagnation. And, it's a tough pill to swallow right now. What do you guys think?
Well, we've been given the older Syracuse fan base a lot of credit because we do think that there's been a lot of patience with Adrian Autry, but I think you hit the nail right in the head. This team has too much talent for us to keep pointing the finger at them consistently.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah, Craig, thanks so much for the call. We really appreciate you staying up late with us. And there we go. Caller in agreement with me about the talent factor, and there is no denying that there is talent. And right before we got that call, keep the calls flowing in here. We're on the air until 1 a.m. You can shoot us a call at 315-443-2011, recapping Syracuse's defeat to Virginia Tech, 76-74. The Orange fall in yet another conference game after just losing on Sunday to Boston College. And in ACC play, Syracuse has only had one game decided by 10 or fewer points, and that was Pitt, and they beat the Panthers by just 11. And funny enough, that was another game where they let Pitt slide back in the second half.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily one where they...
Wasn't an easy... When was the last easy cruising game? Stonehill?
And the funny thing is, they didn't get outscored in that game in the second half against Pittsburgh, but it surely felt like it.
I mean, they crept right back in. There was a moment, like it was the under 8 or under 4, where it was like, oh, here comes Pitt.
And by the way, Boston College beat Pittsburgh today, so that loss, maybe not, or that win for Syracuse, maybe not looking as good anymore for the Orange. I do want to hit on one thing about this particular second half, and it was the fact of just the undisciplined play at the finish. I mean, Virginia Tech was in the double bonus with, 7.5 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And then you continue to foul.
The amount of fouls.
I know there were a lot of times where it said Virginia Tech didn't have a field goal, but I mean, the reality of it was they didn't shoot the ball because they were just shooting free throws.
Exactly. Well, when we come back, we're going to bring Jake Klein into the studios. Jake was at the game, so if you got questions for him, bring them. We'll be back after this on the Double Overtime.
Federal funding for public media has been eliminated. That means decades of bipartisan support for public radio and television is ending. To be clear, NPR and this station aren't going anywhere, but we do need your support. Please give today to help keep rigorous, independent, and irreplaceable news coverage available to everybody, free of charge. Here's how to donate, and thank you.
Visit WAER.org to get started today.
Do you want something new and different to listen to? Try Top of the World on WAER with your hosts, Mark Bostic and Connie Whaler. You can hear popular, contemporary music from all over the world, such as Afrobeat, salsa, bossa nova, ska, and garifuna. Sundays from 8 to 11 p.m.
Out orders, gives it up to Anthony. Deep outside the arc, he lets it fly. Yes! And one! Kyan Anthony from way downtown.
Double overtime rolling on this now Thursday morning in Syracuse.
It's still Wednesday. I hate when people do that.
No,
to me.
it's
like, well,
no.
Technically, it's Thursday.
It is ostensibly Thursday.
It's still
with AJ
Wednesday
Myers.
in my mind.
I'm Max Gifford, not Wednesday. And right as the clock has struck midnight, or half hour past midnight, we're joined by our WAER reporter Jake Klein, who is inside the dome. If you have questions for Jake after Syracuse falls by 2 to Virginia Tech, call in 315-443-2011. Jake, first of all, pleasure to have you join us. I guess your first thoughts on what was quite the finish in the dome.
It was, and I give credit to Syracuse for making it interesting, but they were thoroughly beat down in the second half of this game against a team that I guess is better than them, but based on level of talent on the floor, should not be drastically anyway better than Syracuse. That is certainly a winnable game. And considering Syracuse lost to the worst team in the ACC and took a second quad 3 loss on Saturday against Boston College, this was a must-win game.
Yeah.
And to me, an elimination game. So my personal opinion is that Syracuse is now eliminated from at-large contention. So I guess my opening thought from the game is, you better win the ACC tournament or else you can kiss the NCAA tournament goodbye.
You could pick off a few quad 1s later on, but it's going to be an uphill climb, no denying.
People do forget that if Syracuse wins out, they are the national champions. We've got Paul from Seattle on the line. Wants to talk about the impact that Kyan Anthony had tonight. It was certainly a minimal one. Paul, what do you got for us?
Yeah, well, it is Wednesday morning still here in Seattle.
There we go.
But,
thank you, Paul.
But yeah, just one. Yeah, no, I just had to fit that in there. But just want to talk about Kyan Anthony. I'm worried that, coming into the season, a highly rated recruit, he's not getting a lot of playing time. He doesn't really play in the first half, and then they throw him in there, and he hits that 4-point play where he misses the free throw. And I'm just thinking, I was at the game, actually, and I'm still on Seattle time, but I was at the game, and Melo left the game 2 or 3 minutes before it was over. He walked out and he took a picture with a Virginia Tech fan. It just leads to a lot of speculation about what's going on with the program. How's Kyan doing? Is he going to transfer? What's the NIL outlook look like? I mean, we're running 10 deep, and I'm just kind of worried, and I think that Melo needs to take over as head coach of this football team here.
Yeah.
Well, Paul,
definitely a basketball team.
Yeah, well, Paul, I'm not sure that's the solution, but I think certainly Kyan needs to be better. I think he needs to be utilized better. Thanks so much for the call. Did you get a chance to see Kyan practicing with Carmelo before the game?
I did, and it was funny. I walked right into the Dome, and they're the first two people I see. They're alone on the court.
Yeah.
And I turn the corner, and there's a Kyan shot midair, and right when it leaves his hand, Melo goes, short, and it was short. And I just thought to myself,
can we put him on a bench? Can we get him a bench coach?
Seen so much basketball
in
his life. But I was watching Kyan closely throughout this game because Paul's right. He did not play a lot.
No.
And I've been a believer that his minutes are low and should stay low.
Second half minutes tonight.
I think Kyan Anthony is going to be a good player at some point in his college career. I don't think he is currently a good player.
No, and I
He's
think
got a lot of room
next
to fill
year's
out in
his
body.
team. I'm assuming he stays, of course. Next year's his team.
He's fairly one-dimensional. I mean, to me, next year being his team, if there's any team out there, whether it's Syracuse or Fairleigh Dickinson, if it's Kyan Anthony's team next year, it's not going to be a very good team.
No, and
that's my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think he really should be getting any more minutes. And you remember with Jim Boeheim, he would go 2 off the bench. And that was it.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, Autry goes a lot deeper than Boeheim ever went off the bench. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing at times.
No, I agree with you, AJ. It's frustrating at times where, Virginia Tech goes on a run and kind of the 1 second half run about midway through the half where the Hokies really started to pull away in this game. You're looking around and you're like, where are the good Syracuse players?
Where's William Kyle?
No. So... Well, that's a separate issue, which we can get to
in
in a minute.
I would love to hear it.
I've been listening to you guys. I totally disagree with your assessment of William Kyle in this game. I think he didn't play a lot and should not have played much.
Okay.
But, mainly Donnie Freeman and J.J. Starling a little bit in the second half. Not as much as Donnie, but, you got to ride or die with Donnie Freeman. And J.J.
tonight
Starling.
You were dying with him because he was awful.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
But who's your second or third option?
That's J.J. Starling. But
in that case,
my point is, and I've come on this program before and made the argument that J.J. Starling is the guy on the team that I want taking the last shot over Donnie Freeman. All of that aside, we can debate who's 1 and who's 2 or 1A and 1B. The fact of the matter is he's playing too many guys right now.
Yeah.
You can't go 8 or 9 players deep with this
there
roster.
Were a lot of rotations.
Some of them
in that
are
second
so
half.
young. I'm just sitting there, and the game is slipping from their grasp, and you're like, put the best players on the floor at some point.
Now, bear in mind, 3 of them did foul out, so he did kind of have to scramble there at the end.
Okay.
But I
understand.
understand.
Yes. 5 seconds.
Yes, I understand your point of where maybe he's a little bit too sporadic with his substitutions.
One more thing on Cayenne. So, at one point in this game, early second half, like he didn't play for like the first 10 minutes of the second half.
No, I thought he was going to play at all.
I actually thought he was hurt because he was on the stationary bike for a while.
Yes, we heard Sam say that. Yeah.
And then he was, Syracuse was huddled during a TV timeout, and he's like 10 feet away from the huddle, facing back to Adrian Autry, watching the on-court promotion with the guy shooting baskets on a bed.
From the sofa, or yeah.
So, it, could not have been more checked out.
It's not a good look.
And after the game, somebody asked Cayenne, what do you hear from your dad in low points like this? And Cayenne says, well, he decided he's going to stay here in Syracuse overnight tonight. I'm going to have a talk with him. And then he starts to say, these last few games, I've been watching other guys finish the game. And then he kind of stopped.
Oh, boy.
And caught himself and said, I'm, cheering them on, and I hope we can pull it out. He's frustrated.
Yeah.
It's clear.
That's not good. You don't want the little father-son talk after the game of, why am I not getting minutes? I think Dad needs to go to the head man, who is Autry, and have a conversation.
Syracuse players might be frustrated. Alums might be frustrated. Fans are certainly frustrated. I think Will from Syracuse might be frustrated, too. He's on the line with us right now. Will, what do you have?
Hey, guys. I will say Ty and Anthony, can't run anything on offense besides pulling it from 3.
Yep.
So when he's not working the pick and roll, he doesn't do a whole lot for their offense, and so that's why he was sitting on the bench, because he doesn't really create for other guys. Like, they tried the pick and roll with him a few times, and it didn't work. So that's why he's sitting on the bench there. But besides that, I was kind of disappointed with their energy out there. I mean,
we've heard that a few times tonight.
2 major lulls, and they just weren't scoring on offense, and they decided not to press. And this was, I guess, end of the first half, and then I'd say 15 minutes left in the second as well. They're just kind of not scoring, and Virginia Tech is kind of coming at them, and they're not pressing or anything and trying to force turnovers, and they're sitting back a lot, and they, that's how they lost their lead. But I was kind of thinking, you keep preaching about intensity, and then they couldn't have looked any flatter.
No, and Will, I think that's a good point, because there's no one who preaches intensity and level 5 and all this jargon more than Adrian Autry, and you have to be frustrated with that because, he says all these things, and Jake, did he say the level 5 thing tonight?
He didn't, which made me happy
goodness.
Because I hate when he does level 5, and I hate when he does dips, and to his credit.
Intensity and whatnot.
Well, he didn't have, you can talk about the team. He wasn't coaching at level 5. He looked stagnant on the side.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah, he was mad. And look.
He's been mad quite a few times at the podium.
Yeah, no, I know, but I've never heard him drop an F-bomb.
Oh, he dropped an F-bomb
tonight. He dropped
an
F-bomb. Tonight he dropped an F-bomb 30 seconds in, and it wasn't like sometimes Autry goes up there and he's like, I need to be a tough guy. I need to be a tough guy. I need to be a tough guy. And he does like a coerced.
Oh, yeah, you can tell he's hiding
This
behind
was
the
not
mask.
that. He just naturally let it slip. He was talking about the rebound at the end of the game on the missed free throw where they could have pulled down the rebound and had the ball with
giving him a chance
12
to win.
seconds left, down by 3, and he just kind of let it slip, and he's like, if we get one, beep, rebound.
There we
got
go.
a chance. It was a legit, natural, he was just mad F-bomb. So I appreciate that.
No, I do
he's
too.
mad.
That shows he cared.
Yeah, exactly. And along those lines, Brent Axe from Syracuse.com asked him, you say you're frustrated. I think there's a lot of fans out there who are frustrated. The student section chanted Fire Autry a couple of times, and the boos in the final minute were loud as people started to leave. And to his credit, even as Brent was asking that question, Autry's vigorously nodding in agreement. Yep, I get it. They're frustrated. And he said that. I understand why they're frustrated. So, look, that doesn't make him magically a good coach.
No, not at all.
But I don't want anyone to ever mistake the fact that Adrian Autry does care.
Yeah.
Well, he's apparently so frustrated that he said the queen mother of dirty words, the F dash 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 word. I hope Dave from Liverpool doesn't say the F dash 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 word. But Dave, what do you have for Jake?
Well, I just wanted to make a comment that Syracuse has been crummy for 12 years, okay?
Yep.
In 2014, 8th place. 15, 9th place, 7th place, 10th place, 6th place, 6th place, 8th place, 9th place, 8th place, 5th place, 14th place. Syracuse has been crummy for 12 years.
Yeah.
And
it did not just start
people
with
in this city, they don't care.
No,
they don't care because they don't care because they don't demand that there be changes in the program.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I think, Autry gets a lot of the hate, and
that's part of the job.
I'm not. Yeah. No, I'm not going to say it's all unwarranted.
Boeheim should get part of the great problem too. As I said, this is 12 years. This is going on 12 years.
Yep, 100%.
Okay.
I think
12 years.
I think at the end of the day, if Jim had retired when, the plan was laid out for him to retire and for Hop to take over, I think
Who knows?
I think it looks a lot different right now.
Dave, is your solution to still hang on to Autry and ride it out a little bit, or is it to turn the page?
They never should have hired him.
Okay.
They never should have hired him. And if all you have to do is look at how many years Dino Babers was here. He was the university gave him 8 years here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We do. That's...
When is Syracuse going to hire a head coach that already has experience?
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean,
Well,
you look at the university.
Look at Kurt Signetti.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where was he from? James Madison?
Yep.
Exactly.
And by the way, the former James Madison head coach, Mark Byington, has one of the best teams in the country right now at Vanderbilt in basketball.
Yeah.
So, there are coaches out there.
Absolutely. Dave, we appreciate the call, as always. Keep the calls rolling in here on the double overtime. I think he brings up an interesting point. We with Dino Babers and the whole 8-year contract, we have no idea how long Autry's contract is. Nobody knows. But the university, they love to hire from within, basically. Look at other sports. It's always a within hire, and maybe that wasn't the right decision. But again, putting the focus on the now, I like what you said there, Jake, about his frustrations at the podium. It's good to see that.
Yeah.
Like, you just haven't seen solutions, though. There's no solutions.
You're right. We can sit here and say he really cares. He's trying. He went here. He played here. He's an alum. He gets it.
Yeah.
All true.
I hate that he gets it.
All true. But at some point, you got to win games.
Yeah.
And this is a game you had to win, all things considered. And they didn't. And they just didn't play well enough. And like I said, there are concerning on-court signs, in my opinion, about the way the team responds to coaching.
Yeah.
Kai and Anthony is walking out of the huddle in the middle of a timeout.
Players are arguing after a missed rebound. Those are not good signs.
They came out of a timeout, and Autry, kind of as play resumed, Autry did something that we've all seen a ton of basketball coaches do, and it's always a kind of a pet peeve of mine. Like, the coach walks down the bench and starts yelling at the players on the bench because he's mad about the players on the floor, right?
What are they supposed to do?
Okay, so when you're the guy on the bench and the coach is just kind of yelling at you because he wants to yell, what do you do? Like, just instinctively. You just say,
give him the nod.
Yes, coach. Yes, coach.
Yeah.
Nope, nothing. He walked past Donnie Freeman, Luke Fennell, William Kyle, Kai and Anthony, all in a row. I wrote it down. This was with 7:55 to go in the second half. He walked by those guys all in a row, yelling at the bench, and they were totally unresponsive.
And I think that then...
I want to add this
Go
also.
ahead.
This was a tweet from Q Sports Talk. And again, I did not witness this interaction, but this is a tweet from Q Sports Talk. I saw this as well. A player's parent came over to the media table near the end of the game and said, "Poor coaching." Again,
we also had a caller...
I did not witness that interaction, but that was reported from a credentialed media member on social media.
We also, I don't know if you heard, we had a caller come in and said they were at the game and they saw a certain interaction between Coach Autry's wife and a fan at the end of the game.
Which is messy. You don't want that.
Again, I don't know how much validity there is to that, but at this point, it's understandable how emotions are bubbling over at this time. If you want to vent your emotions to Jake, who was at the Dome, who had the perspective courtside, call in 315-443-2011. Jake's joining us for about the next 7 minutes or so. Jake, I do want to get to this topic because you had said, you came in here and said that I completely disagree with how you guys are evaluating William Kyle. What was your evaluation of Will in this game?
So I thought he had maybe one of his best offensive nights of the season.
He was 5 of 6.
Yeah, it was the first time.
What, he had 10 points in the first half?
Yeah, none in the second half.
It was the first time I've seen him, in the words of Stephen A. Smith, pull out a post move that he can put to memory. Right? We haven't seen that all year. He's except for the alley-oops, been like kind of useless offensively. Tonight, especially in the first half, I thought he was good. I also thought he had one of his sloppiest defensive performances of the year.
The defense has dipped for him recently.
And I think it's because teams have figured out a way to attack him. Yeah. And Mike Young, who's I think is a great coach. The Virginia Tech fans are not terribly high on Mike Young.
He wears a suit.
He wears a suit.
20 bonus points.
Totally agree.
Although he was so fired up, he had to take the coat off,
which I love. I was hoping the tie would go, but it didn't.
So I think Mike Young's a good coach, but the one thing he always is, whether you like him as a coach or not, is he is brutally honest at the presser. He said this game was like watching a tractor pull.
Which fair.
I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah.
He also made a point and like literally came out and said like they felt like they could attack Kyle and they had success against Kyle. And I totally agreed with him. I was surprised to hear a coach come out and say that directly.
Yeah.
But I totally agreed with him. I think, and Virginia Tech had a number of pretty good big men. Hansberry is great, and Mike Young said he's kind of the straw that stirs the drink for that team. And then Gerdak is just an absolute tree trunk.
Yep.
And, boy, it just felt like Virginia Tech at points early in the second half was getting to the rim at ease, and they were taking advantage of William Kyle, who I would never have said previously was the guy on Syracuse that you were going to attack on the offensive end.
So I had said pregame that Virginia Tech did have the paint advantage when it came to size,
Totally.
And I think that was evident.
Yep.
And when those two guys got into foul trouble, that's when you saw Syracuse take advantage. You saw the couple Kyle slams. You saw the Sadiq White slams, which he had a great night. It seemed like, at least offensively,
best
a little
player
bit.
off the bench.
Yeah. He's okay.
He's an Energizer bunny. Like he doesn't really.
Everybody says
give you
that
a whole lot.
He just doesn't really produce much.
But
he loves shooting threes, and he's not a good 3-point
No,
shooter.
he's got to stop shooting threes.
He just gives you the electrifying.
Did he
dunks,
foul
if
out
you
again?
will. Yes, he did foul out.
He fouls out a lot too. I think.
One of the other interesting points that Mike Young made was, and this goes back to what I said about JJ being the 1A on my team, and why I think JJ's early foul trouble was a major difference in this game. Like Syracuse was up 7 at halftime. They were up 10 one possession before halftime.
Yep.
In my opinion, if JJ plays, normal minutes in the first half because he doesn't get 2 fouls in the first couple of
I feel like
minutes.
you could have brought him in earlier too. I think he held him out kind of long.
I mean, you get 2 fouls and you get 2 fouls.
Yeah,
in
you're
the first
protecting
half.
him
like
for the
you
for the
pretty much
second
can't
half.
play him the rest of the half. That's I think widely accepted. I think if he's able to play out of foul trouble for normal minutes in that first half, I think Syracuse, had a chance to be up like big at halftime, and they weren't. And the interesting point that Mike Young made was he said Donnie is a really good player, and then he kind of corrected himself and he said Donnie is a really good right-hand driver. You can't let him get to the right. And immediately when anybody says that in a basketball context, what does that make you think?
Not good.
I mean,
he's got no left. If he's a really good right-hand driver,
makes me think they have a weakness.
You never want to hear a coach describe a player. Oh, he's really good at one thing, but not good at the other thing.
So
they had a tell on him.
That told me that Mike Young and his staff saw something on film that allowed them to shut down Donnie Freeman, and boy, did they.
Oh, they did. He was miserable.
His worst shooting night of the season. He goes 3 of 14 from the field. They effectively turned him into an ineffective mid-range jump shooter. Meanwhile, what did Mike Young say about J.J. Starling? He said, the guy scares me to death. He's scared me to death since he was at Notre Dame. He scared me to death every single year at Syracuse. He did not say that about Donnie Freeman.
And that's where the light should go right to Adrian Autry. Why isn't JJ more productive in this offense?
Yep, I agree.
It just, you feel like there's so much there, and now it sucks because he's done after this year, and you're just not getting anything out of him.
But he still wasn't taking great shots in that first half. I still go back to that.
Oh, I agree.
He's a frustrating player, but boy, he can be good.
He is, but when he gets a head of steam going to the rim, like you saw it at the end of the game there. Like when there's 13 seconds left and they need a 2 right away, he's unstoppable when he just
He had the
flies down
best
there.
60 seconds the whole game.
I don't know why he doesn't do it more.
No.
And there are times where he is doing it and then he comes out of the game and it's infuriating.
And you wonder, does he have the license to do that?
Yeah.
Is this Autry saying, we want you to do this, or no, like do this or that?
I wrote this down as well.
Yeah.
Syracuse's 2 longest scoring droughts of the game. 3 minutes and 59 seconds to end the first half, they did not score. And then for 4 minutes and 12 seconds early in the second half, they did not make a field goal. J.J. Starling was on the floor for none of those droughts. Donnie Freeman was on the floor for both of those droughts.
I think that.
What more do you need to say other than
says
that?
it right there.
I mean, I did appreciate the meme you put out on our Twitter at WAR Sports Talk. It was the Uno draw 25 or play your best players with Autry's face on it, and then it was Autry with 25 cards.
Yeah. I'm not an excuses guy. I do want to say this was an insanely officiated game.
There were a ton of fouls.
It was
20
actually
in the second half.
It was actually getting to the point where I was like, the fans were going as crazy as the Dome can be. Like with a not very big crowd, it was getting like kind of raucous in there at one point in the second half.
Yeah.
The free throws were 36-14.
Yeah.
For Virginia Tech.
I mean, I don't remember any
game.
Yeah, I don't remember any
game.
like.
What home game do you get outshot from the free throw line 36-14? That's insane.
Yeah, that is. And
they
I
were in
don't.
the bonus plus with 10 minutes left.
Yeah,
that's what.
And I don't remember it being any call, but like, oh, that's a terrible call.
Oh,
like
I don't agree with that.
I don't think it was anything like Hofstra level. Anything that really. I don't think the free throws. Yeah, it was a big difference, but I think Syracuse could have. Still, they almost won with all these free throws from Virginia Tech.
Toby Lawal of Virginia Tech shot as many free throws as Syracuse shot as a team.
Yeah.
Ben Hammond shot 1 fewer by himself than Syracuse did as a team. Again, on the road. That's not supposed to happen.
Now, that being said, Virginia Tech did not make all their free throws,
no,
so gave Syracuse the opportunity to come back in this one for sure.
And they had the chances at the end of it.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, A, put the good players in the game, and B, like Mike Young said, want to make sure I get it right, that was like watching a tractor pull.
It was not a fun game to watch.
But in a tractor pull type of game, the tougher team usually wins, and it does not feel like Syracuse is the tougher team
not at all.
in any game they play.
It doesn't feel like they're a team at times.
And you feel like Syracuse is eliminated from any sort of at-large contention after this.
I do, yeah.
And I agree.
They could pick off. They can have a Tennessee game in there that give them hope, but this ain't good.
You need several of those.
You probably need 2. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Jake, we really appreciate your time. Great to get your perspective in here as well. And hey, maybe Syracuse will start putting in its best players when they play against Miami this Saturday.
Yeah, we'll see.
AJ and I break that down a little bit more.
Get off the tractor.
Yeah, no more tractor pull games. Well, this double overtime is almost at the end of its tractor pull.
There we go.
Our final words are next on WAER.
The Ostrom Avenue Podcast, breaking down Syracuse athletics.
The students rush the field. The Orange are bowl eligible and 6-0 for just the 3rd time in the last 87 years.
And interviewing the industry's experts.
We are now joined by a very special guest. It's Emily Leiker of Syracuse.com.
Check out video interviews on YouTube at Ostrom Avenue Podcast and weekly episodes on WAER.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for listening. We hope you're enjoying this WAER sports broadcast. Our sports staff goes where the teams go, home and away, and prepare for days before each game broadcast. Our talk show and podcast hosts analyze games, pour over stats, and keep up on sports trends. These and many behind-the-scenes opportunities are made possible by listener donations. So if you're a fan or an alum, donate to keep our sports legacy strong at WAER.org and click donate.
Defended tightly by Hammond. Cross court pass Starling. Right wing three on the way. It rattles in for Nate Kings. His third three of the game.
Welcome back to the double overtime. AJ Myers alongside Max Gifford, wrapping things up after a 76-74 Syracuse defeat. Virginia Tech gets the best of the Orange. Another ACC loss for the Orange. We got just about 8 minutes left. We're on the air until 1 a.m. So if you got one more call, one more thought, you can give us a call, 315-443-2011. Max, we've unpacked a lot from a tractor pull type game. I'm not going to forget that. That was a funny line there. Thanks to Jake Klein for coming on again. He brought great insight from the Dome. It was a lull of a game. There was a lot to unpack. We hit on Autry. We hit on the second half collapse. We hit on the lack of team, poor substitutions. It's all stewing in the pot. What are you pulling out for your final word?
Well, I'm pulling out a name that has been mentioned twice this show on a Syracuse-centric basketball show nonetheless. A couple days ago, we as a world witnessed Kurt Signetti and the Indiana Hoosiers win the national championship in football.
Yes.
Let me repeat that. The Indiana Hoosiers.
They make a movie about this?
Football champions. Hoosiers 2, coming soon. If you would have told me that a year or 2 years ago, I would have said you were crazy. But the reality of college athletics nowadays is that you can bring in a guy who has experience maybe at a lower level that can transcend a program and turn them into a national contender. With that being said, that doesn't just fall on coaching, that falls on talent. Because if you watch the national championship on Monday, Miami had the better team talent-wise, but Indiana played as a unit.
Yes.
And I look at the landscape of college basketball right now. Pat Kelsey at Louisville, who came from Winthrop. Ryan Odom at UVA, who came from VCU. Will Wade at NC State, who came from McNeese. Rick Pitino at St. John's, who came from Iona. I know he had some experience other places, but point still stands.
Yes.
Kevin Willard at Villanova. All these guys had backgrounds at other places and have come in and in a couple of years, and maybe even in their first year, have already started to change the culture of a program that might have been a one-time proud that ultimately fell short at one point. We're looking at a team at Syracuse-wise that has a potential first-round draft pick in Donnie Freeman, a guy that I think that could go in the second round like William Kyle. You have a veteran senior, J.J. Starling. You also got some other players who are highly touted recruits who have some talent, maybe not being utilized how it should be, and you're 12-7.
Yeah.
Why can't Syracuse be that next resurgence story? That's where my final thoughts sit at this point. Why can't Syracuse be that story? Because you have the talent to do it.
I think there's maybe a money factor in there, but you make a great point. I think your biggest point I take away from that is the hiring, not
Syracuse has the money.
I don't know.
They do.
We'll see. I'm going to go with something that, I think we've just been seeing throughout Adrian Autry's tenure, and that's just more of the same. It's more of the same. You get one really good win. It was UNC last year or 2 years ago. It was Tennessee this year. But then you just get these awful losses. And they keep piling up for Adrian Autry. And quite frankly, I don't know how much more he can take and how much more of this university, this fan base we've heard with callers tonight, can take more of the same. It just hasn't been a change from Adrian Autry. This year he's tried new slogans, the level 5. I forget what the thing is they do when a team when they get
kills.
Kills. Yeah, we haven't heard. Yeah, kills have really.
They're still on the scoreboard.
Yeah,
don't worry about it.
Yeah,
The kill zone. Sorry, it's the orange zone.
The orange zone. He's tried to just sprinkle in stuff like that this year. And, everyone said it, I think us two included, that this roster, it is no denying, it's more talented than last year's, but it's looking at the same fate. And that's going to be, a middle-of-the-pack ACC seed. And then, again, no meaningful March. And if you get no meaningful March, Coach Autry, are you around for another year? I don't know. But right now, it is just continuing to be more of the same problems and same issues that have just haunted Syracuse since Adrian Autry has taken over. And I think callers today really pointed out some good points that maybe it even started with Jim Boeheim.
I mean, this has been a trend for, 12 years now?
Yeah.
I don't think he was lying when he said that. We're going to look at the last 3 years of Adrian Autry because that's what we know really well.
Yep.
But the reality of it is this has been, a brewing pot for a while, and I think it's all starting to surface all at once for these Syracuse fans.
It certainly is. Syracuse, they fall tonight to Virginia Tech. Our next broadcast is going to be on Saturday. The Hurricanes of Miami, they take a trip up to the Dome. McClure Remodeling countdown to tip-off gets you going at 1:30. And then Timmy Weiss and Milo Hoffman are on the double overtime until 6 p.m. Be sure to listen to the Ostrom Avenue podcast wherever you get your pods or at WAER.org. They're getting you ready for lacrosse season. It's a really good lacrosse team, plenty of expectations there as well. But that'll do it for right now for AJ Myers and Max Skifford. Thanks to our producer, Jason Sklaktis, engineer Milo Hoffman. Jake Klein was excellent as our reporter. And our desk, Augie Waters, Jason Glick, and Josh Radjanoff. Great job to you guys as well. That'll do it for the double overtime. Thanks for staying up with us, everyone.